What's going on, everyone? It's Chris Gunzz. Welcome to another Chris Gunzz Boxing Show, and this show is special because my guest is a special person in the sport of boxing. He's a king, 7.5-year reign as heavyweight champion, 20 title defenses, a legend in the sport, need no introduction the world over. My guest is the Easton assassin, Larry Holmes. Mr. Larry Holmes, it's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you, and I appreciate you willing to join me for a conversation that I wanted to have for a very long time. Thanks for being here, and how's it going, sir?
I'm doing real good. I can't complain. I'm alive. I got up this morning, and I'm now taking care of some of the business that I've been neglecting.
Yeah. That makes both of us, I guess. Everybody knows you as the Easton assassin. You're from Easton, Pennsylvania, but you weren't born there. Where were you born, and describe what that was like?
Well, I can't really tell you what it's like because I came up when I was like 5 years old, but I was born in a small town called Cuthbert, Georgia, Cutbert, Cuthbert, Georgia. And we came here when I was like 5 years old. My dad came to this town and needed work and got work and came here, and that's how we got here.
And you, in your early life, when you were in Georgia still, you were raised on a farm, weren't you?
Yeah, we had water outside. You had to go out and get water outside, and you had the outhouses outside. Everything else, your house was built up on stilts. So yeah, we was very poor. We didn't have anything going, and that's one of the reasons why my dad moved to Pennsylvania.
And when you did move to Pennsylvania, what was that like? It must have been like moving into a mansion from an apartment.
Yeah, because we had running water. We had to go outside to go to the bathroom. It was really neat.
Yeah.
To do that, to live like that. So,
yeah.
I think that was a blessing in disguise.
No, I'm sure it was. What kind of kid were you? Describe yourself as a kid.
Well, I was ordinary. I was always athletic inclined. I played football, I played basketball, I played baseball. I did everything that kids do when they're young, and it was great. It was great, and I was just happy to be able to do things that I wasn't able to do when I was down south.
Yeah. Who describe your household and who was in it at the time you moved to Pennsylvania?
Well, me and my 8 brothers and sisters, and 9 brothers and sisters was in the house. And we had 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, and we all shared it. Some slept in the same room together, and some slept on the couch. It was just the way that we made it. Then my dad came down. 3 of my brothers went with my dad to Connecticut, and that was it, So that made it a little bit easier for us.
Yeah, and it wasn't all perfect after you got to Pennsylvania. Not long after your parents split up, and how did that affect you, being in suddenly a home with just a mother in it?
Didn't really pay no mind, Of course, everybody else had a dad. We didn't have a dad, and I was looking forward to it, but. We did. My mom did what she had to do to make sure that we was okay.
And would your father keep in touch with you, or did he just up and leave everybody?
He kept in touch.
Yeah.
He kept in touch. He came by here and there,
Mm-hmm. And you were forced to drop out of school at the age of 13 when you had to look for work to help your mother out. What kind of work did you do?
Well, only thing I could do is work in the car wash and shine shoes, and that's one of the things that I was doing. And it was something that we had to do, Yeah. But it was okay. We did what we had to do, and that was it.
And life would become even more stressful when you were still young yourself. You had 2 kids, and how old were you when you had your first daughter? I know you had 2 daughters early on. How old were you when you had your first?
17 years old when I had them.
Yeah.
I'm like 17 years old.
And you had another daughter after that. They weren't twins, were they? How old were you when you had your second daughter?
It was the following year.
Okay. You were working quick.
Yeah, apart. Yeah, Misty and Lisa.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of job did you? It's tough because you had no career type of job at the time, and you had no idea how life would turn out for you. It turned out great in the end, but at that time you had no idea what was coming, and you had to feel stressful, like your back was against the ropes at that time. What kind of job were you doing as you approached your 20s?
Well, I got to be working in the steel mills. I worked at Lehigh Foundry and the steel mill as a molder, and then I worked with Ingersoll Rand, as a guy that worked out to pull the steel out of the shakeouts and stuff like that. And, I also was a grinder, grind all the rough ends off the steel. I did some of everything, in the factories and the foundries. And then I got myself a little tired of that, and then I said, hell with it. I'm going to, do something else. And I looked for another job, and I drove truck doing that. And that was really nice, too. That was easy up on me.
Yeah. And, another reason why I love your career so much is because you weren't involved in boxing until later in your life. You didn't get involved in boxing until you were, how old, 19 or 20?
Yeah, but I was always athletic inclined, and one of the things that happened as we were growing up, we went to the PAL, the Police Athletic League. They had boxing there, and they had football and basketball, and I was able to get into that. And then as I grew, I got into that. I got more and more involved with that. The guy by the name of Johnny Bowe, Carl Skyzo, took us around to different places in the area, and we boxed in these clubs and stuff like that for hamburgers and hot dogs. But, that was good. That was good. They kept us off the street. They gave us something to do, and it worked out. I didn't know I was going to become a heavyweight boxing champion of the world. I had no idea that I would become that. But it was great. It was great for me. I think it was great for all of us because a lot of us kids back then, we did that.
Yeah.
We boxed, we did whatever we had to do.
Yep. And boxing was always a main sport in America. But how did you decide that boxing would be the thing you really threw yourself into? You didn't choose baseball, you didn't choose basketball, you chose boxing. How did you decide that that's what you were going to focus on most?
I really didn't choose that. I guess it chose me. Because when I dropped out of school, what else is it for me? As I go back to the washing the cars and working in the steel mills or driving the truck, there was nothing else left for me. So therefore, I took to boxing and I worked at it. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't know how far I would go. And I probably didn't even know what the hell I was doing. But you know what? I worked at it. And I became good at it. And I wanted to be the best as I can. One of the things that helped me out a lot was the people criticizing me, I should say, that I was not going to be anything. I was not going to make it. I was just a little copy of Muhammad Ali. I was not going to go anywhere. So,
and
so I had the determination that I wanted to show them wrong. So many people put me down for so long, and I said no. And that's what made me be able to do the things that I was doing.
Yeah, and you met a guy, a former fighter by the name of Ernie Butler, and it changed your life. Tell me about Ernie Butler, and tell me all about how he changed everything for you.
Well, he changed it by letting us come into the gym and teaching us how to work, how to do things. He was a good man. He was a guy that, wanted to teach you how to box. And that's what he did. He taught us how to box. He took us up and down the road, the highway to New York, to Philadelphia, wherever we had to get, wherever we can get boxing at, he took us. And that's what he did. And which was great as far as I'm concerned.
You said you were always athletic, and would you say, though, that you were good at boxing right away?
Yeah, I was athletic inclined. I was good at boxing. I was good at it. But I didn't know what was going to make me go. But, yes, I was good at boxing. I was good at everything that I wanted to do. I was good at football, baseball. I was pretty good at that.
Yeah. And Ernie Butler also is the guy who introduced you to Muhammad Ali for the first time. What year was that?
That was about 1971.
Yeah.
Then with Angelo Dundee and a couple of other guys that I got the chance to meet,
Mm-hmm. And you met Angelo Dundee. How come you didn't get trained by Angelo Dundee? Why did you go somewhere else to get trained?
Because Angelo was Ernie Butler's friend.
Uh-huh.
And Angelo Dundee wasn't into taking away something from one of his friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you didn't have very many amateur fights. That's another reason why I love your pro career, because you didn't come up with all the hundreds of fights that most guys were coming up with in the amateur system at that time. Is it true that you were only 19-3 as an amateur?
Yeah, 19 fights. I lost two to Nick Wells and one to Dwayne Bobbitt.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And you were in the Olympic trials, but you did lose to Dwayne Bobbitt, and he prevented you from being on the Olympic team representing your country. Now, getting in the sport late, maybe you didn't think of it for so long, where it affected you so bad. But describe losing the fight and not making the Olympic team.
I really didn't care. Didn't want to go. Because at that time I just had a bad feeling about going up there and, fighting in the Olympic Gulf into a place that I'd never been, I'm still young, and for me to go to Munich, Germany, that's kind of bad. And I just had a hunch that I didn't want to go. And I didn't fight the hard as I could have fought. I just bluffed my way around and did what I had to do, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. And instead, you decide to turn pro after that fight with Bobbitt. Describe your first pro fight, and what do you remember about it?
Well, I could beat Bobbitt. There was no problem. I had no problem with beating Bobbitt because I was out boxing. And I can't really, explain how it go. I moved around the ring, and he couldn't get me. So every time he went to get a good punch in there, I would grab him and hold him. Mm-hmm. And that's when the referee starts warning me. And once he started warning me, and I figured that's my way out. So I went for the disqualification.
Yeah. Yep. But you didn't make the Olympic team. You didn't care. Instead, you decided to turn pro. What do you remember about that first pro fight?
And, when I was happy guy in the world, I fought a guy by the name of Rodell Dupree. And it was a young guy just like me coming up. Fought the heck out of me, because he was from New Jersey. Fought the heck out of me, and but I won the decision.
And you said one time that the feeling going into a fight was so powerful for you that you could just cry. Why and when did that start? Was that always the case, even as an amateur?
No, the feeling that I got, I get those feelings when I think of things like people had tell me I couldn't do something, and I show them that I can do it, and you get a good feeling. The feeling that I got was great. I love this feeling. I mean, and I just feel like I'm a chosen one. I believe that God chose me to do what I'm doing, and in spite of what everybody say or think, that's why I became the heavyweight champion of the world. And I had so many haters out there wishing me the wrong, hoping that something would happen to me. And I was just doing my thing, just trying to prove them wrong. If people didn't bet against me as much as they did throughout my life, I would have never made it. So people was hoping that I lose so bad, I wanted to show them that I will win.
Yes. And by that time, you already spent a long time sparring Muhammad Ali. Tell me about how Muhammad changed you and the way you felt about everything, the sport, life. How did Muhammad change you? And describe being in the ring with Muhammad.
Well, just been hanging around him, the influence that he had on people, the charisma that he had, that influenced me enough. That wanted me want to be like Ali, and everybody used to say, you just want to be like Ali, you're a copycat. Damn right I'm a copycat. Mm-hmm. I want to Ali. I want to be great like Ali. I want to make some money like Ali. I want to win my fights like Ali. Whatever you want to say about me, that I wanted to be right. I wanted to be the guy that people like. I don't want to mistreat people. I want to do the right thing. And that's what I did. So if they wanted to say I act like Ali, whatever they wanted to say, they said it.
Yeah, like who wouldn't want to be like Ali?
Oh, crazy.
You also sparred Joe Frazier and Ernie Shavers early in your career. It probably wasn't Frazier at his best, but describe your sparring sessions with Joe Frazier.
Well, it was Joe Frazier at his best because he beat Ali.
I thought you sparred him after, like at about the time he fought Foreman, maybe.
Yeah, well, I fought Ali in 73. I worked with Joe Frazier like 73. Ali's second fight was Joe Frazier. Mm-hmm. I worked with Frazier.
Oh, wow. That would be...
I think that's when it was. I think. I'm not sure. You take me back a lot. You know, I had a lot of fights. You know, I don't remember every fucking thing. But with Joe Frazier, he was rough, and he was coming at me every day, and coming at everybody every day. You know, because that's the way he fought. And if you wasn't ready for Joe Frazier, you get knocked out. Well, I happen to be the one that didn't get knocked out, but but other people could have got knocked out.
Yeah. And Ernie Shavers, you had a chance to get to know him a lot better in your life and in your career. But describe your early sparring with Ernie.
Ernie was a good guy. I worked with him up in Grosvenor for his first time that came to Bobby Gleason's gym on 149th Street in New York. And he needed somebody to work with him. I worked with him 1 or 2 days, and they asked me, will I work with him? I said, yeah. And that's where I met Don King, because he had Ernie Shavers. And, of course, we went to New York for about 4 or 5 weeks, and we worked with Ernie Shavers, and he paid me up there, and that's when I found out that Ernie Shavers was one of the hardest punchers in the boxing. But he hit harder than Joe Frazier, he hit harder than Muhammad Ali, and I said, damn, if he hits this hard, you know what I'm saying, he must be the hardest puncher out there. So that's the way it went with Ernie Shavers. But I boxed him. I didn't stay there and trade punches with Ernie Shavers because he hit you and knocks you out. What I was doing is boxing, moving, keep moving, and that's what made the difference.
Yeah, and anytime I ever heard anyone ask you who hit you the hardest, you still to this day say Ernie Shavers did. So.
Oh yeah, I say Ernie Shavers because that's what it is. It was true, you know.
Yeah. And still not having very many amateur career, a very long amateur career, it was still a learning on a job process for you. You have 7 fights in your first year in the sport, and the last of them was to a guy by the name of Kevin Isaac, where you were knocked down for the first time in your career. What do you remember about that fight with Kevin Isaac and the knockdown?
Well, he knocked me down, and I got cute out there, and they told me watch him because he's slick. And I didn't do none of that, and it went out there and he hit me and I went down. But what happened is, you know, I got up, and he dropped his hand and I knocked him out. And Kevin Isaac was a good boxer, slick boxer at the time, and then later on in life, after I became who I became, champion, I hired him as a sparring partner because he was very good. And he's one guy that I don't know where he at or how he's doing. But, you know, he was a good guy for me. And I ask the people about him all the time, and nobody know nothing.
Yeah, so if Kevin Isaac happens to see this interview and he gives it a listen, then Larry Holmes wants to hear from you. So Kevin Isaac, get in touch. And Larry, from April 1974 to October 1975, you go 9-0, and you find yourself in the ring against the brother of the man who prevented you from getting on that Olympic team. You face Rodney Bobick in the Philippines on a small card headlined by a couple of your ex-sparring partners there, or still current sparring partners, going at it for the 3rd time. It was a card nicknamed the Thrilla in Manila. Take me back to that whole trip to the Philippines. Who'd you go there with?
I went there with Muhammad Ali. I went there with Ali, and they put me on the card, in which I wanted to go, and I work with Ali occasionally, but not a lot because he was fighting Joe Frazier. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry.
Me at C, you know, and then I happened to be fighting Rodney Bobick, a guy who was undefeated at that time, was strong, and looking for his career in the life. But I think I messed it up, and then after I beat him pretty good. Somebody said he got in some bad trouble and got hurt, so I don't know what happened to him either.
Yeah, and so how did you feel about going into that fight? You worked with Ali more than you did Frazier, but you're friends with Frazier too. So after your fight with Bobbick, you find your way to your seats. What did you expect was going to happen in the fight, and how did it go as compared to what you thought? It was a war.
Yeah, when I fought Bobbick.
Yeah, you beat Bobbick, and after that fight, you had a chance to sit down and watch Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier 3. What did you think of the fight, and what did you think was going to happen going in, and how did the fight turn out as compared to what you thought?
The fight, I thought Ali would win it like he did. I didn't really care who won because I liked both of the guys, Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. Maybe in my back of my heart, I liked Ali a little bit more. I don't know, but it was a good fight. I mean, them guys, I had the ringside seat, and after I finished fighting, and these guys was fighting, they was going at it. And then when I seen Joe Frazier and Eddie fight, then to Joe Frazier, no more. And Joe said, no, let me go. And I knew the fight was going to be over. But it was a tough fight. It was a good fight. And, both of them took a lot of punches. It's amazing that they still, Joe's not here anymore, but Ali's still here.
Yeah. And happily still here. He was having some tough times. He was in the hospital, in and out. Hopefully he's doing much better now, and I'm hoping he fully recovers from this latest trip to the hospital. You were close to both guys, and Muhammad was way more forthcoming about how he felt in the ring and stuff, and he said that was the closest he came to death. Did you ever get a chance to talk to Joe? And what did Joe say about that fight to you? Did he say anything at all to you?
Joe never really said anything to me about that fight, but he used to tell me that he didn't like Ali because what Ali did was try to make him seem like he was ignorant and telling people he's ignorant and calling him names and stuff like that, Joe's a man too. Joe didn't like that, and I can understand it, even though you try to get a guy to go, but you take it to a certain limit, then you stop. He's a guy that can't take it, and his feelings getting hurt. You talk about his family, his brothers, his sisters, mama, anybody you talk about, that should be off limits. But, guys done that. I see myself into that, doing that at one time. But, I got out of that because, that hurts people. That hurts and burns deep, and people do it. But Joe took it very hard because Ali kept telling him how ignorant he was and stupid he was and ugly he was and he's gorilla. And Joe didn't like that. And that's why to the day Joe's in his grave and he probably didn't forgive Ali for that. He did what he had to do while he was around Ali, showing him respect a little bit, whatever. But Joe did not like Ali because of that.
Yeah. So I always wondered, was Joe pretending just to make people enjoy that rivalry still? But it was no joke, huh? Joe really kept that.
Joe didn't take it as a joke, and you know what? I wouldn't either. You got it up on me and whatever. You talk better than me, okay? You educated more than I am, and you gonna put me down in front of a bunch of people? No, that's not good.
Yeah. And after you fought, like I said, you fought Rodney Bobbick in the Philippines. After the Bobbick fight, you went and you won 4 more fights in a row, and then you fought a guy by the name of Roy Williams. Tell me about that fight. And at that point in your career, how did you feel about yourself, and how did the people in the sport feel about you? Because as a young pro, you had a lot of detractors. Was it still like that at that point in your career?
They didn't want me. They didn't think I could fight. They didn't think I could fight because, remember, I got disqualification with Dwayne Bobbick. My heart was too small. I couldn't punch. I was just a copy, a wannabe,
Mm-hmm.
Now, and Roy Williams was supposed to beat me, and I broke my hand on him in about the 4th or 5th round. But I kept on going, and I beat him, and that set me back. But maybe it done it for a reason, but I was still able to catch this guy and show them that Larry Holmes still could fight, and with the broken hand and all, proving people wrong.
Yeah.
But Roy Williams was a big guy, strong guy. Nobody wanted to fight Roy Williams.
Nope.
I did not want to fight Roy Williams.
Yeah.
When you're pushed up against the wall, you do what you got to do to get off.
Yeah, and you did it, and you came out victorious. And 4 fights later, you find yourself in the ring with Ernie Shavers, and it was a WBC heavyweight title eliminator. Tell me about your first fight with the Acorn.
Ernie Shaver always said to me, "He's gonna knock me out. He's gonna knock me out." I said, "Well, you can't hit what you can't see, because I ain't gonna be there for you to hit me." And he tried to hit me, and I know Ernie because we had boxed thousands of rounds. And my thing was to move and keep moving, and that's what I did. I moved on Ernie side to side, back and forth, and I won the decision. He didn't get that big punch on me.
Nope. You just were as elusive as you could possibly be. So after that fight, you beat the Acorn easily every single round, and you got that title shot. That was a WBC title eliminator fight. And you got the WBC title shot against Ken Norton, one of the greatest heavyweight championship fights of all time. A classic round 15. Take us back to that night, June 1978, June 9th to be exact. Take us back.
Well, 6 days before the fight, I pulled a muscle in my arm. I thought I was going to have to postpone the fight. But I prayed, I iced it down, and got it to working pretty good. Ken Norton did not like me, because nobody liked me. So it was not really unusual for somebody to like me. But he didn't like me, and he wanted to knock me out. He wanted to show people that he wanted to knock me out. And I told him he couldn't knock me out. I was going to beat him, and we got the trash talking and stuff like that. But I was determined to do what I had to do to win the fight. And that's what I did. I was determined to do that. And he didn't like it. I boxed side to side, punched, used my jab, used the right hand, and then it come down in the later round, my arm didn't bother me no more. So, I came out victoriously.
Yeah, and everyone still talks about that round 15. It's mentioned every time they mention the greatest rounds in boxing history. Do you remember much about the 15th round? I mean, it was a tough fight. There's times that you're blacked out during a fight. Do you remember how it went exactly in round 15?
Yeah, I remember exactly how it went, because, I wasn't never hurt, and I was still tired, so was he, and we just went at it, and I still tried to move out and whatever, and box it, and I was still using a jab with not much power on it, and the right hand with not a lot of power on it, but it was enough to keep me scoring, I thought I had won the fight by 9, at least by 8, 9 rounds. I was winning, and they had me to fight even. I didn't agree with that scoring, but nevertheless, I came out victoriously, and that was okay with me. Ken Norton was a tough guy, hard guy, and to fight him, we had a great fight, and I'm just surprised that. Well, I'm not surprised that he didn't become champion a long time ago and stay there, because you had guys like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, all them other guys out there, Ron Lau, Corey. I mean, you had all of them, even though Norton did fight some of them. But yeah, he had a ton of fighters out there that would fight you all day long and not give one inch. So there was no way it was, it's hard. It was hard for anybody to stay champion. If you wasn't Muhammad Ali, you weren't a state champion.
Yeah, definitely the greatest era in boxing, 1970s, greatest decade. And suddenly you are the WBC heavyweight champion. Now, your early life, you come up on a farm with no bathroom, no bathtub, having to drop out of school to find odd jobs just to get money into the house and help your mother out. Everything you've been through and all the hardships you've endured. And here you are, the heavyweight champion of the world. How's that feel at that time?
I couldn't believe it. But again, I did believe it. I didn't know how to act or when to act, because people would look at me and say, "You're the champion of the world." I didn't know how to act, because the same people said, "Oh, you're the champion," said I wouldn't make it. So I just, just did my thing like I do today. I didn't change. I changed my lifestyle by the way I dress and what I eat. You know, the car I drive, but I'm still me. I'm still Larry Holmes. I'm still a guy who would tell you to go jump in the river if you get on my nerves about something. I'm the same guy that would throw you out my nightclub if you get too drunk. I'm not changed, you know. And people try to change me. They try to make big things out of nothing that I say and take it out of context. But I don't care about them. I know what I got to do. I know what I did. I'm not really worrying about it.
Yeah. Some people criticize you and say you changed, but you didn't come all that way to stay the same, did you?
You don't change your life, you're not growing. You know, I want to grow. You know, I want to be smarter than I was yesterday. Because yesterday I broke a guy's nose and punched him in the mouth and took his wallet. Today I know different. I know I'm not going to do that and hope nobody does to me. Yeah. But back in those days, like you said, I picked cotton. I worked in a cornfield. Yeah. But I don't got to do that no more.
And you make your first title defense against Alfredo Evangelista, and you jab him until he's knocked out in the 7th round, and then you make your second defense against Asi Ocasio, and you get another 7th round stoppage. You make your third defense against a guy with an unassuming record going in, Mike Weaver, 19-8. It was June 22nd, 1979 at Madison Square Garden, and he proved a lot tougher than his 19-8 record would indicate, didn't he?
Well, you know, he did, but, you know, he wouldn't have. But, you know, I'm not making excuses for myself. I was sick. I came down with the flu before, but I was not going to call the fight off because they was already saying the fight wasn't worthy for NBC, ABC, CBS. To take it, they didn't know why Madison Square Garden put it in they built it. So, you know, we already had a down thing, and I was not getting the dollars that people thought I was getting or they thought I should get. You know, because the money was not coming in. But, you know, he puts on the show. He put on to make sure I got some money, and I'm sure Mike Weaver got some money, and we went out there and fought. We did our own. So the fight came off. But it was a hard fight with Mike Weaver because I was sick. But I was trying to set him up all through the fight, and it took that long to set him up to get him to do what I wanted to do. That's when I took him out.
Now, in your previous defense against Asi Ocasio, Ernie Shavers knocked out Ken Norton, and that set him up for another shot at you. And it was a much more difficult fight than your first fight with Ernie, for one punch anyway. But take me back to that second Ernie Shavers fight, and especially the 7th round in particular, when he got you with that right hand.
Well, Ernie, you know, I knew Ernie would beat Kenny Norton because you can't stay in there with Ernie Shavers taking punches because he'd knock your head off, which he did with Kenny Norton. But, you know, I knew that I had to fight him again as a mandatory and didn't want to, really. But I knew I could beat him, so I did what I had to do. I outboxed him for 6 rounds, kept moving. He couldn't hit me. And as I was busted, I said, man, look, don't take no more of this. Your eye is bleeding, you're hurt. He said to me, you're going to knock me out. So I went to throw an uppercut, and he hit me with an overhand right. And because my left hand was down, and the next thing you know, I was picking myself off the floor. But, you know, I was determined to get up and to finish my fight and stay away from Ernie because I know how hard he hit. I'm already winning, and Ernie's stamina was depleting, so I stayed away and did what I had to do, and I won it later on by, Ernie might have got too tired, he couldn't go anymore.
Yeah. And that would be your last fight of the 70s. And you fought 4 times in 1980, going 4-0, 3 knockouts. And the last of those fights was against your hero, your very good friend Muhammad Ali, your sparring partner, a man who taught you a lot about the sport, and I'm sure he taught you a lot about life too. But it's a fight that you wanted because of the name and because of the money that it would bring. Now, when you knew the fight was made, how did you feel inside personally? When you were in your house and away from the public and you're thinking about it, you're going to be having to punch this guy. How did you feel about that?
First of all, I didn't want to fight Ali, and you know, it was my buddy. But you know, I got in the game to fight money for money. I didn't get in the fight game to make friends, or I'd have never made it. So you know, I knew what I had to do, and I went out there and I wanted to do it. Ali knew what he wanted to do, and he went out there and did it. And you know what? If we had to do it all over again, I hope Ali would do it again, because I know I would. He got $10 million, even though I only got 3.5 of it. You know, that was still a lot of money. And that was a lot of money for Ali. So people can say anything they want about the fight. I won the fight. They can say Ali was too old, or 38 years old. He's too old. Big deal. I fought until I was 52. I mean, I was with Grandpapa when I was fighting, a great-grandfather, when I was 16. And you want to say that to make Ali look good or excuse for Ali? Well, I think you're wrong. But people can say anything they want to say because that's people. And what they say is not going to make me happy and ain't going to make me sad. I'm just going to be me, Larry Holmes.
Yeah, and you mentioned how, and everyone knows how Joe kept a grudge against Muhammad for the mean and cruel things he'd say to Joe. Did he say anything mean and cruel to you in the build-up for that fight?
Yeah, he always did. He always said things. He called me every name in the book, everything he can think of came out of his mouth. Yeah, he said it, you know. But you know, I just say that don't keep me from kicking your butt. That's all.
Tell me about after the fight. I mean, you beat him easily. People were sad all about it. They didn't like you even more after you did beat him. What did Muhammad say to you after the fight and when the cameras all went away? Did he ever bring that fight up anymore?
No, he never brought it up. You know, only thing he brought up when I went in the room, I told him, I said, man, I love you. He said, why you beat me up then? That's it. But it was never no hard feeling from Muhammad. Ali's always been a good guy with me. I mean, he might have been a bad guy to somebody else, but to me, he's been a good guy. So you know what? I don't care what people say about him. To me, he was the greatest. And being a draft dodger or whatever you want to say, it's good. I'm glad he was a draft dodger because he might have went over there and got killed. And because, you know, things happen for the best. And by him being that draft dodger that they think he was, it's good. It was good for me. Look, we're still here. We're still alive. I became the champion. I fought one of the greatest fighters of all time. And to me, Ali was the greatest and still is. So people going to say anything they want, so be it.
Yeah, and your next fight, you won a 15-round decision over Trevor Berbick. Kind of, I don't want to talk bad about him. He's not here with us anymore, but a head case, not an easy guy to like for a lot of people. It was kind of your first fight with him. Your second fight was a street fight. I didn't like him at all because he accused me of messing with his wife, and that's enough. No, I never did that. Now that he's dead and in heaven or hell, wherever he at, they probably told him that I never did that. So, you know, I really have no hard feelings for him. He was all right. He was all right at one point. You know, he was a part of my life. He was friends, you know, and, you know, I don't have to forgive him. God got to forgive him for the shit that he did. So, Trevor Berbick, man, he was awkward. That's all he was, awkward. And he was strong. He could take a punch, but I beat him up 15 rounds. And that was it. Yeah, you did. You beat him. And after beating him, you fight Leon Spinks. You beat him. And then you fight Ronaldo Snipes in a fight that was called Imminent Danger. And going into that fight, you were such a favorite that there was no betting line on this fight. 14,000 people, though, came out to see it at the Civic Arena. And it was shown on ABC Sports. Now, it's funny because you weren't the most popular champion in that time, but and it was a guy that most people didn't even think was going to give you much of a fight, but still 14,000 people came out to see it, and that's a credit to you.
Well, it's a credit maybe because they wanted to see a fight. They knew this guy could punch. They knew he had a punch a chance, and you know, and lightning almost struck. You know, I mean, he hit me with a right hand. You know, but by me messing around trying to get ready for the next guy, and he caught me, and I went down, got up, finished the job.
Yeah. When you get up from that kind of knockdown, do you know exactly where you are, and where do you get the kind of recuperative powers that you had? Because Ernie Shavers caught you with a devastating right hand. You get caught by Snipes, and you get up and you're able to continue when some guys just can't do it. How did you get that? And did you know where you were at both times? You get up from this Snipes big right hand. Did you know where you were?
God took me there. He didn't want to leave me. But when, you know, God, he does all the answering for me when I get in that ring. while I get in the ring, whatever meant to happen, happened. They meant to hit. I was meant to take those punches and meant to get up and finish my job. But not hurt. I knew where I was. So I was okay. I just had to get up and do the right thing.
Yeah, you stopped him in the 11th round, and then a real fight breaks out in the ring. It was an exciting fight, but there was more action to come as Howard Cosell was interviewing you. Take me back to that in-the-ring stuff afterwards, and in a dangerous situation. What do you remember about that going in?
Well, I don't remember too much about it, that because I remember that they was fighting. Somebody was fighting down on the side because of Jerry Cooney sniped and everything. They thought they shouldn't stop the fight. Jerry Cooney was just hollering up something. I don't know what went on because I was still in the ring or trying to get the hell away from there and trying to be interviewed by Howard Cosell. But the guy just started acting up, so I let them deal with it. They dealt with it, and you hear a lot of things after the fight, but I don't know too much about that.
Yeah, then came a fight that where it showed the ugly side of America. That it was a fight that should have been hyped up on the combatants alone. I mean, you have the undefeated heavyweight champion taking on a hard-hitting undefeated challenger, 25-0, in Jerry Cooney, and instead of enjoying that and getting excited about that, it brought out that the ugly racism that lays dormant until something happens to make it come out. And still, it's that way today, kind of, but things changed a lot since then. But take me back to it. Go ahead.
Things always going to change. And some days they're going to be good, some days they're going to be bad. Because people, it all depends what kind of mind they got. You got a messed up mind, you raise funny, and you insult people and don't care about people, you're going to wake up with attitude every damn day. But if you got a mind that you like everybody, you want to treat everybody like you want to be treated, you're going to be all right. You know what? You're going to be okay. Yeah, sometimes somebody's going to say something to make you mad. Sometimes you're going to say somebody to make them mad. So, but the thing about it, you need to get over it. You know what I mean? We got to wake up and smell the coffee. Because God put us here. We had nothing to do with black, white, orange, green. Yeah, we don't have nothing to do with the colors that we are presenting or representing. Because we have nothing to do with it. I can't help that. I'm black. You can't help that. You're white. I suppose you're white. And that's the way God is. He put it out there. Or Italian or Jewish or Asian or whatever. You can't help it. We just born and put in certain positions and nothing we can do about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so, I learned a long time ago, you don't care about what people say and what people do or what color they are and what color they're not, if you want to marry a black girl, fine, it's okay. I don't care if I want to marry a white girl, fine, it's okay. I did not marry a white girl, but my daughter married a white guy, so, and it runs in my family, so I don't worry about it. But when I told people that, when they tried to make me out of a racist when I was fighting Jerry Cooney, saying you starting the race, trying to sell the race car, I said, I'm not playing the race car. I don't need to do that. I got talent. I need to keep fighting. Don King and Bill Kane or whoever those guys is on Jerry's side, they weren't doing it. Because I know I'm black. You can look at me and tell that I'm black. But Jerry, it's kind of hard. You didn't know he was Irish. Because you don't know, he don't put it Irish unless you hear his last name. And you're still not sure what that is all about. and Jerry was what I said, and I told Jerry, don't let these people mess up your mind. Because we're going to do it anyway. You're going to fight and I'm going to fight. You're going to kick my ass or I'm going to kick yours, And let the best man win. So we have a good fight. I said that to Jerry. And he was a little shy on the part, but he finally came around. He finally came around to know and hear what I said, know that I was telling him the truth. Because there's going to be a lot of assholes out there that try to start a whole lot of shit. Why should I say you better than me when you're not? Because I'm black, or you white, or you're Italian, you're Jewish, or whatever the hell you are. You don't make you better than me. We're God's child, man. God don't make nobody better than nobody. He makes them in his own light, whatever he wants them to do. So me, we're good friends now. And when he finally understands what we talked about, we friends. I call him up on the phone and say, hey, Jerry, that's me here. Can you come here? Can you come there? Yeah, he come. And he asked me to do anything, I go do it.
Yeah, you do. I know you guys did a lot of work together. You helped him with his organization that helps kids in fist after. So I know you care about kids and you care about people, and I'm glad you guys were able to put that behind you and get over that and be friends.
But I told him how to do it. Don't let them fucking guys bring that shit up. Leave that Don King and Bill Caton and Jim J, whatever his name, I guess, Rappaport, guys. Let them talk all the shit they want, but let don't even get involved because we still got to go.
Yeah, and the fight itself, it was a rough fight and a dirty fight. What do you remember about that fight? The fight itself.
I mean, I didn't know that Jerry was gay. Because every time I turned around, he had his hands down there in my pants. He hit me so many times below the belt. I'm just kidding when I say gay. He's not gay. He's a long way from being that. Jerry's a hell of a man.
For the record.
For the record, he ain't gay, but that's the joke that I made. I didn't know Jerry was gay because he kept hitting me low. I